Happy New Year, everyone. It is meteorologist Joe Martucci here at Trax 57 with our annual year in review, top 10 weather events of 2024. And of course, we're going to talk about the month that was December 2024. Happy New Year to you, New Jersey State climatologist Dr. Dave Robinson. You have been out of the country, and I don't know if you want to share your travel escapades because it might take the whole half hour, but let's just say I'm very happy to have you here on New Year's Eve talking about 2024 New Jersey weather.
Now, Happy New Year to you, Merry Christmas, and
Yeah.
Happy Hanukkah to everyone else as well. Yeah, we were traveling to Riviera Maya down in Mexico and had a lovely week until it took us 2 days to get home. No thanks to a certain airline that will not be named, but
Right.
you see prominently at Newark Airport.
Mm. Might be blue, maybe that airline.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not sure. Speaking of blue, it wasn't probably very blue in Mexico. Probably maybe the water was blue, but the temperature was warm, I'm assuming. Was it
Uh,
hot, or was it like just warm? Where were we on the temperature?
It got to the low to mid 80s with a lot of humidity at the end of the week. One tropical downpour over dinner one night. The one night we didn't eat outside because it was pouring.
Okay.
Uh, but really quite nice weather for the most part. We were very fortunate. Some nice tropical breezes. I'll make everybody feel bad,
Right.
especially as we see how cold it's going to get the next couple of weeks. But the sad part for me is I went to the airport in the snow on
Mm.
the 21st,
Yes.
and I had to leave that all behind,
I,
including my cross-country skis, to go
oh,
to warmer climes. And I come back, and it's milder,
it's milder, and you
and the
are the
snow's
snow.
gone.
Yes, yes, and you are the snow king, running the Rutgers Global Snow Lab, and we'll start off with snow because the Jersey Shore had a little bit of snow in December, right in time for Christmas here, and I would say we almost had a white Christmas where I am in Monmouth County. It wasn't the technical definition of an inch or more of snow depth, but we did have patches of snow on the ground. But anyway, the 20th to the 21st was a fairly widespread snow. It wasn't the heaviest snow in the world, but we did see 1 to 3 inches for Northern Ocean into Monmouth. Of course, out your way, Somerset County, it even points north, was more like 3 to 6. And we even saw some traces of snow down to Atlantic County, although the Cape May bubble did stay snow free here. So I'm just gonna toss it to you. I mean, to see this kind of snow before Christmas, it's always nice. And I as much as winter or December is a winter month, I don't think people always think snow before Christmas, but we did have some.
Yeah, we did. And it was for much of Central and North Jersey, it was the first white Christmas since 2009.
Yeah,
So I've been quite a wait. Now we only average one a decade when in New Brunswick when you go back well over a century. And that's skewed a little bit because there were five of them in the 1960s. So if anyone grew up in the 60s and says, "Oh, we don't have white Christmases anymore like we did when I was a kid,"
right.
they're right because the 60s had by far the most white Christmases of the last century and a half. Uh,
Interesting. I wasn't
odd.
alive. I missed it.
Yeah, it was odd. But there was one Christmas in the 60s where it was in the mid 60s on
Yeah.
Christmas Day. But yeah, so that's put people in the spirit, in the mood of the season, perhaps. And traffic wise, it was on a Saturday morning. Um, so it wasn't in the middle of a weekday afternoon to create havoc.
Yeah, no, and
So,
it was out by early-ish morning, I believe like 9 o'clock or so, at least where I was in Monmouth
yeah,
County.
yeah. By the
So
time we had left and they de-iced the plane and whatever, it was
yeah,
out. And again, what we're going to talk about some here, it was precipitation. It was moisture. It
yes,
wasn't a lot. It was a pretty dry snow.
no,
But it just showed, again, we're recovering, not recovered, as we'll talk
right,
about,
yeah,
from our late 24 drought.
yeah. You're doing a better job than me with these transitions on the podcast today. Well, we'll talk about drought and the recovering because for the first time in a while, we have improved our drought status. I think and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's the first time since drought began in September that we actually improved. Now, for our Triax audience, that's mostly at the Jersey Shore, not much improvement. In fact, very slight. But throughout the state, we have seen improvement. Now, and we've been saying this in the past couple of months, you have a say in what the drought status is here. I only have data through December 24th, but you may have even newer data as we go into the new year. So after this precipitation we had, where are we with drought and how are you just, feeling about our status going into the new year?
I can't even say we're over the hump yet, but we're certainly holding our own. And I can say that, yes, I submitted the recommendation from our small drought team a couple of hours ago, and we're speaking on the 31st. And I've already heard back from the national author for the week. You're going to, for the first time, see a reduction of D3 in South Jersey with the map that's released. I don't know if they're releasing the map. Well, today it's normally released Thursday morning, but we had to get everything done extra early this week because of the holiday. Um, there's still going to be D3 along the Jersey coast from Northern Ocean County down, but the west side of South Jersey, down the Turnpike area, and up a little further north in parts of Monmouth and Burlington are going to lose D3 status and go to D2 status. And meanwhile, all of North Jersey, which is in the last couple of weeks has gone to D1 or D2, it's all going to be D1, which is
Okay.
considered moderate drought. So improvements everywhere except where the drought began and where
Yeah.
the drought has been worse, and that's the Pinelands over to the coast and down to Cape May County. And still groundwater is low. The streams aren't flowing as a result of that, and the least precip has fallen in that region in recent weeks compared to the rest of the state. So we got a long ways to go everywhere. But the tide has turned somewhat, and with any abundant precipitation between now and spring, we'll be okay. But as I said, we have a ways to go still, so we can't let down our guard.
Yeah, we're still in a drought warning by the New
Yeah,
Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. We're still in a D3, as you said, in the most widespread since 2002, I believe, right? It's been
correct,
22 years.
correct.
Yeah. Just real quick, then we'll get to December's temperatures. Where are we ending up precipitation wise statewide for the month?
It's going to be a little below normal from what I've seen, but to tell you the truth, with my travel woes, I'm working on our top 10 list. I haven't looked at it very closely, so I don't know exactly where it stands.
Okay.
You,
Yeah,
you
I know.
hopefully have some numbers.
Yeah, I have a couple of specific numbers. I mean, ACY Airport, 3.13 inches. The average is 4.35. You make your way over to the marina at the immediate shoreline here. It's still below average there as well. Actually, even more so, about 2.5 inches. The average is 4. And then up the coast in Long Branch, Oakhurst, coastal Monmouth County, still about an inch below average. So all below average there. Let's turn to temperatures. We got about 2.5 minutes left in this segment here. Let's talk about temperatures because we're actually doing something we haven't done in quite a while.
That's right. That's right. And while you were reeling off numbers, I looked, the wettest spot in the state this month's up in Hunterdon County, Holland Township, 5.28 inches of
Ooh.
rain and melted snow.
And
So
compared
you
to the past couple months, pretty good.
got a lot of areas between 4 and 5 inches of rain. Um, so yeah, but let's go back to temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, first below normal month for temperature since November of 2023. For those who like records, this is disappointing because we needed to be above normal in December to be the warmest month on record in New Jersey going back 130 years. And
Warmest year on
we're
record, correct? Is that what you're saying?
warmest year.
Okay,
So I'm
warmest year on
jumping
record.
ahead to
Yep.
part two later, but we've lost 2010 has still got a rain as the warmest year on record, but it's almost a lock that despite below normal temperatures in December, it's going to be the second warmest year on record. But I'm getting to the second half.
I know you're teasing ahead. I mean,
I'm
I'll
sorry.
yeah,
Well, it
no,
was
no,
that
you're
cold
fine.
Christmas week. It was that cold Christmas week
Yeah,
that really did it. I mean, got some ice on some lakes and ponds.
yeah.
I heard a
So
remarkable story that I didn't verify, but I saw it online while I was away that someone was cross-country skiing over a lake up in North Jersey and fell through the ice, but
oh.
for some reason was wearing a life preserver. So they were able to be rescued. I
Okay, well,
mean,
that's smart, I guess.
yeah, but you don't go skiing across an ice-covered pond
I
if
agree
you
with that.
think you might need your life preserver. I mean,
That's
for the life of me, I I, I assume this story is correct, is real.
I didn't hear about this, but I guess this person really just wanted to ski on ice on a lake. That's what I'm guessing. It said if
Or
I'm going to fall in, at least I'm protected. I
or they
wouldn't do
wanted
it.
to water ski. They wanted to water
They
ski.
went on the water ski, exactly. I'll say this, with the cold, you said Christmas and right before, that's certainly true. And also the start to the month, the first 8 days of the month were all
Yeah,
below average. High
yeah,
temperatures were in the 30s to kick off the month of December, with lows, even at the immediate coast in the low 20s, with teens, of course, and single digits inland.
yeah.
So it was a pretty chilly month, and it looks like that's going to continue into January. We won't look too far ahead on that, but it does. We're gonna take a break here, and then we're gonna come back on the other side. Whether for love or for fun, join us on the Seaside Heights Boardwalk for the Community Options Cupid's Chase 5K on Saturday, February 8th. Your entry fee supports housing and jobs for people with disabilities. The Seaside Heights race is one of 48 races held simultaneously in 11 states on that day. The race will begin at 10 a.m., rain or shine. The race is fully accessible, plus pet friendly. All participants will receive a drawstring bag and a medal, as well as t-shirts as supplies last. That's Saturday, February 8th for the Cupid's Chase 5K from Community Options. Sign up at www.comop.org/Cupid's Chase. That's comop.org/Cupid's Chase. And we are back with our monthly weather roundup, presented to you by Community Options Cupid's Chase 5K, taking place on Saturday, February 8th, I should say, on the Seaside Heights Boardwalk at Herring Avenue. Whether for love or for fun, you can run. It's our 5K race, and you can check it out at comp.org/Cupid's Chase. All right, so we talked about December. Now let's talk a little bigger picture here. Let's recap the year. Let's talk about our top 10 weather events. But before we get to that top 10, generally, when you're thinking about 2024, to me, I mean, drought just kind of like is in flashing lights for me. Obviously, like you said, it's probably going to be the second warmest year on record. Is that what you're thinking as well when you think about what 2024 meant to you in terms of weather and climate?
Yeah, to tell you the truth, if we were first for warmth out of 130 years, that would have been my number one. But given that it's only going to be second, I would go put drought first. But let's remember there's this primacy and recency effect. The first 6 months of 2024 were the 21st wettest in the last 130 years in New Jersey. And I would say, thank goodness for that. Because I even said in my end of May narrative, we're going in after a pretty somewhat dry May, we're still going into the summer season with abundant water resources available.
Right. Yeah.
And thank goodness for that, because as soon as I said that, we started drying out, particularly in the southern half of the state. Got a reprieve in the northern half with a very wet beginning of August. And then the bottom fell out, as we know. And what made this drought to date, and we have to say to date, so memorable was how intense it was in terms of absence of rain. I'm sure we'll do some statistics here.
Yeah.
It was the most extreme short-term dry period New Jersey's experienced in over a century of records. And that's what made it so memorable. And I think deservedly gets a number one ranking for the year.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm okay spoiling that. I mean, I think, I couldn't think of anything else that would be other than drought for sure. With rainfall, right, or precipitation for the year, like where are we ending up actually? Because you said it was so wet in the beginning of the year, so dry in the fall, right? So when you add that all up, where do we go?
It's going to be it's going to be below normal. But if you look at it 50 years from now, you'll see maybe it's 5 inches below normal out of 46 inches. It might be in the low 40s. And
Right.
you're going to say, so what? But if you really look into it more carefully, you're going to see there was quite that range from early in the year to late in the year.
Right. And then just how about temperatures? I mean, you're saying second warmest, right? Like how much above average is that? Could I put you on the spot and say that's the average year for? Like, was this more like a coastal Virginia year or something like that?
That's
Uh,
a good. Yeah, it's going to, we don't have the exact numbers yet. And again, my apologies for
that's
having
okay.
the audacity to go on vacation during a vacation week. But a
And you had
couple of
some
these,
flight troubles and you had some
yeah,
flight troubles.
it doesn't sound, the numbers when you talk about annual departures in terms of temperature never sound large because we're averaging over 365 days, the highs and the lows. So a couple of degrees above the 1991 to 2020 mean is significant. And then you add a couple degrees to that over the period of record mean back to the late 19th century. New Jersey has warmed so much that most of the departures you hear are based on 1991 to 2020 means, not the full period of record. So a couple degrees above normal would be the way it's going to play out. But again, I've said this in our conversations for years
Yeah.
that it's not necessarily the extreme intensity of any heat wave and all. I mean, we had hot days this summer. It's the persistence of the warmth. And we mentioned this earlier that the first 11 months of this year were above normal.
Yep.
Um, and every season, going back to last winter, spring, summer, fall, ranked in the top 10 for warmth, going back 130 years.
Mhm.
So that's what makes it so notable. But it's almost like being that proverbial frog in a boiling water, a pot that's getting up to boiling. You don't notice it because it's just there and it's slowly warming. And you're getting used to these things when really it's quite different than it was when, depending on your age, but back in 30 years ago, 60 years ago, and,
Right.
and such. But there's a lot of subtlety to it because it's climate. I'm the climatologist, you're the meteorologist. I always say you get instant gratification, but of course you're prone to instant condemnation too.
Yes. Yes.
Climatologists, we kind of safer in the background. We used to be, at least, and now we're much more visible for comment and criticism at times.
Yeah, but listen, I mean, you're right. Climate's warming. There's no doubt about it. It's been warming. It will warm. This is, what is average is changing, on a fairly rapid basis. I mean, I even wrote about this in my Shore Local magazine about, the 1991 to 2020 climate average, which is what we use now, is different than our 1981 to 2010 average, and it's different than our 1951 to 1980 average. And it's when you look at this long-term period of record, like you guys have so nicely at the climate office, going back to 1895, that long-term average is, I mean, it seems almost impossible to get below average of that when it comes to temperatures, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah. And I'll just say this just to wrap this up. So I did look real quick at ACY Airport. This is from the NOAA Regional Climate Center. Says this year was more like an average year in St. Louis, Missouri. I don't know if that does anything for anybody. Doesn't really for me, but that's what I got for us.
Yeah, they have nice. One of the regional climate centers has a product that I think comes through to the national. I would say, for East Coasters, it's more like we're in the climate of Baltimore, Washington area.
Yeah.
Maybe you can stretch it to Richmond, that kind of shift. a
Yeah,
couple degrees of latitude. And again, that makes a big difference whether we think of 2 degrees as much. It's a big difference when averaged over an entire year. So
absolutely. Yeah.
anyway,
All right, top 10 time. That's right. We'll so here's what we'll do. We'll quickly read off our 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. No explanations there, and then we'll just talk about 5 through 1. As we talked about, I think we're on the same page, which is always good. Great minds think alike. So why don't you start and you just list off your 10 through 6
yeah.
right now.
And let's talk for the second really year in a row. It's kind of a weak top 10.
Yeah,
And we should be grateful for that.
yeah, we
But
should.
number 10, 20 inches of snow at High Point on the 21st, 22nd of November, greatest November snow on record in New Jersey. No, I got to look around because I'm still working on this. I got to put on my glasses here. Number 9, late into the growing season. Of our weather stations, 69 weather stations that we run, 9 of them didn't get below freezing. Also, Newark Airport, an urban site, didn't get below freezing for the first time this fall till the 30th of November.
Oh,
That's late for
that is
that many stations.
yeah.
Number 8, where's that said? Oh, there was an odd band of snow on February 16th, 17th overnight, right through central New Jersey. What was odd about it was there was so little to the north and south, and upwards of 10 plus inches in this band from Hunterdon through Somerset, Middlesex County. But what was also interesting, the ratio of snow to water was like 20, 25 to 1. Very, very dry snow. So an oddity there. 8 there. Number 7, the near record high pressure, put it this way, the highest pressure since February of 1981 occurred just a couple weeks ago on the 14th of December. Now you got to be a real weather geek to look
You
at
do.
that in your top
It's on
10.
my list too. It's on my list too.
I know. So about 31 inches of mercury is very high, and the first time since February 13th, it was, I believe, or it was back in February of 1981. 7.6 local deluges of precipitation. I got a bunch of numbers here, but these were very localized events, such as the town of Lebanon Township in Hunterdon County on the 22nd of June. One end of town had 5.59 inches, the other end of town 0.65 inches. But you had some at Woodbine during July, over 7 inches, in Mercer County, over 7 inches one day in August. So we had these local events. Number 6, that's my top 6.
Okay.
My also ran is
Yeah.
what I know you haven't also ran, the eclipse
Yep.
on the 8th of
Yes.
April, and the earthquake, which was 10 miles from my house.
Yeah.
Believe me, I thought the house had exploded on the 5th of April.
Got it.
So non-weather events.
Right. And the Northern Lights. Northern Lights on there?
I forgot the Northern Lights.
Yeah. That was
Yeah,
October. Can't remember, but I saw it in Atlantic City on a boat, and it was incredible. Like
Yeah.
seeing it with the naked eye like that, incredible.
It was October because I showed a picture of it on our website and called it the only storm of the month we had was this solar storm.
That's right.
Okay.
All right, so here we go. I'll do a quick here. Number 10. Now mine's a little more shore focused, so that's why we have a little difference. We had a long streak of coastal flooding, but sunny day coastal flooding. Really, there was no rain, and it's a good reminder you don't need rain for coastal flooding. But from September 16th to the 25th, 9, and this is for the second year in a row, the ocean stayed cold well into summer here. We had water temperatures in the lower 50s at times into August. The 8th, or number 8, was a huge temperature swing on October 21st. ACY Airport had a 40-degree swing on the 21st, low of 42, high of 82. The one before that was a 39-degree swing on October 20th. I had the Norland trough snow on January 19th, where far South Jersey picked up to 3 to 5.5 inches of snow. Number 6 was that pressure that you said, the high pressure on December 14th. I don't know if you know this either. Queen performed under pressure for the first time in 1981 as well. So Maybe they took some inspiration from that initial event in 1981.
Now, any of my five, 6 through 10, make your top five?
No.
Because one of your 5, 6 through 10 made my top five.
Ah,
And
okay.
that's my number four, to
Okay.
segue into the next one.
Sure.
That was the persistent easterly winds and the coastal flooding in the latter half of September.
Really? That went into I thought that wasn't even going to make your top 10.
No, that was
Really?
remarkable.
It
That was
was. Okay.
remarkable for 3 straight weeks. The prevailing winds were coming from the easterly direction. So I titled that monthly narrative a 180, because everything was opposite. And with those persistent winds, that contributed to drought conditions, actually, because we had high pressure over us.
Yeah.
And also that coastal flooding came in. So I put that up.
Wow. Now you're making me think maybe I need to move. If you're putting that in your top five, I might need to move that into my top five now.
It looks like you're number 9. I couldn't believe
Yeah,
it.
it was. Okay. I should have. Next time we have long coastal flooding, I'm going to bump it up higher.
Yeah.
Anyway, keep going.
But we both have interesting ones. Mine's number 5. I can't remember who yours was. The lack of severe weather this year.
Yeah, it was my 5.
We had one EF0 mini tornado in Mercer County on the 14th of June. And there was tragically a lightning death at Seaside Heights during a thunderstorm.
Yes.
I believe it was in July 23rd, or was it June 23rd? I'm sorry, I don't have it quite down. So let's not, minimize that. But we didn't have a major tropical system near us or anything like that. So, the weather event was kind of non-extreme weather.
Yeah.
That's 5. Number 4 was the persistent east. Number 3 was a storm on January 9th. People may not remember because it was so long ago, but there was a little bit of snow to start in North Jersey, just a little bit, but over 4 inches of rain. There was flooding that reached almost the top 10 on the Passaic and the Raritan rivers. And it was our windiest event, I would contend, since Sandy. We had many stations over 40, some over 50, a few over 60. And that came on top of a very wet storm before Christmas last year. So that helped exacerbate some of the flooding conditions.
Okay.
But that was our nastiest storm of the year. And then number 2 is the warmth. Number 1's the drought.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So my top 5, I mean, we're generally there. Number 5 was the lack of any severe weather. So we got that. We know that. Number 4 was the hottest, or second, as you're saying, second hottest year on record. I didn't know at the time when I made my top list. 3. So my top 3 were all drought or dry related. I kind of broke it out a little bit.
Yeah, you cheated on that one.
Yeah, I was stretching. I didn't have much to talk about. I'm trying to figure it out. So number 3 was the record driest autumn on record for most of the Jersey Shore, but also in Atlantic City, where records go back to 1874, it was the driest 3-month stretch ever. Like, that's a lot of months that we've had since 1874. So incredible dry there. 2 is the drought. Like we already mentioned it, worst drought since 2002. We're in a drought warning. And then the U.S. Drought Monitor has us in a D3, although that's decreasing as we go into our next update. And number 1, the longest dry streak on record, not just for parts of the Jersey Shore, but all of New Jersey. And I wrote, so the reason why I chose this as number 1, I know you saw this already, but for everybody who's listening and watching here, because it's one thing to break an all-time record, right? Like, that's impressive, but it's one thing to do it statewide in all of our sites. And it's so easy to get 1/100th of an inch of rain in some of these major reporting sites. Like, that's it. We didn't have it for 40-ish days. I said this a couple months ago. I just don't think we're going to see that again in our lifetime, statewide. My lifetime. I don't think so. I could be wrong, but to have the whole state like that for that long, very impressive. So that was
and what you've done in your 1 through 3 is my narrative under number one on my
Right.
list is going to have
Yeah.
all of these bulleted items. And you're right with Atlantic City, with let's go across the river to Philadelphia, up to Newark, to New
Yeah.
Brunswick. These are AC Marina.
Yeah.
These are all stations with records back into the 19th century
Yeah.
that broke their runs for consecutive days, in some cases by a week or 10 days,
Yeah.
without any measurable hundredth of an inch or more precip. And the fact that it's centered on October made October the driest month of any month going back 130 years.
Right.
200ths of an inch of precip average for the state, mostly because of a few showers in Cape May County and a few showers in Sussex County.
Right.
That's kind of a nice way of wrapping things up. I mean,
Yeah. You got the corners of the state try to get a little rain there. But yeah, I mean, in short, I mean, you and I have slightly different styles with how we do this. I mean, you're a little more bigger picture. I'm looking at some individual events, but the point is the dry and the heat, that tops our list. We're pretty much on the same page. Although you're making me upset that I didn't put that coastal flooding higher. I should have put that in the top 5. I didn't, coastal flooding isn't always the sexiest thing to put on a top 10 list, but I've learned my lesson now.
Well, it is a climatological thing. And when you lock something in, again, persistence, we talked about earlier, you lock something in for 3 straight weeks in a very odd sense, or you lock in the dry conditions for 5 and 6 straight weeks, very unusual. This is where weather and climate come together, which is a wonderful way for us to end our last podcast of the year. Right. I suppose.
I'm weather, you're climate. We're together. We're here in the new year. We went over time, but that's okay. It's okay. I knew there was a possibility because we had so much to talk about. I mean, this is what happens when we link up. I mean, we can't just stop talking about weather and climate. So,
you got it.
Anyway, so that's a wrap for 2024. So I just want to say to you, Dr. Robinson, thanks for rejoining me back here on the monthly weather roundup, here at Tri-X 57. Obviously, we were doing this at the Press of Atlantic City for years.
Yeah.
I stopped. I was let go from the press. Now I'm here at Tri-X and really enjoying the work here. And I wanted you to be a part of it. So
yeah, well, it's
making it happen again.
I missed it. I'm so glad to be back. I think anyone listening to this knows how long we've known each other and how well we get along. So it's just been terrific.
Awesome.
And happy New Year to you and Shawnee and everyone else out there.
Yes. Yeah. Happy New Year to everyone here. I'll leave the last word to you where they can follow you and see what you guys are doing at the climate office.
Just go to njclimate.org for the general climate picture. And if we have a snowstorm, you can look up how much snow fell by county and individual stations and whatever, as long as 2 inches fall somewhere in the state. And njweather.org to get the very latest conditions as you may want to go out and about and see what the conditions are.
Perfect. All right. Well, Happy New Year, everyone. We'll be back with you sometime around the end of January, beginning of February. We'll recap January, which looks to be cold. We'll see if it's snowy. We'll talk to you guys in a month. Take care, everyone.